Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 27th episode of Cultist Simulator, the Bright Young Thing Legacy, playing as David Ellison. So the first thing that we wanted to do was to read the Incandescent Tantra. This is something that we translated and we wanted to get the text done at the start. So obviously I'm a little bit more on the ball in recording today, so we can make that happen right away. The Incandescent Tantra. Michael Blockley, the eccentric iron magnate, was fond of quoting from this tantra. Blockley died in a factory fire. Did I ever tell you about Diogenes Laertius? Dialogues with an entity called the Crucible Prince. The prince warns about the appetites of his mistress, the Burning Queen, and the peril of the naked desire she shares with the sun, but professes his loyalty nevertheless. There is a great chamber in the mansis through which a painted river flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly, there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails, flecks of gold leaf when I was done. Okay, so, as always, the questions about what do we want to do with the dream slot, and again, we're not ready for the spider's door. So we will employ our reason to ascend. Okay, Poppy's available for another commission if I want. He navigates, now you are the map. He illuminates, you were the darkness. He is not compassionate, you will not show compassion. Our compass is knowledge, and our course is glory. So here we have a percipient disciple, loyal and keen-sighted, but in this particular case, I believe we can go even higher. So let's try the Mirror of Glory, we'll try the Percipient Disciple, we will try the Fenian Invocation, and in addition to the two lantern that they have here, I would need the Noonstone or the Door in the Eye. So the Noonstone's not sufficient, but the Door in the Eye should be. Oh, interesting. Oh, 21, right. So I'm relying on the fact that the oh, actually, hang on. We haven't even moved our lantern followers up to that higher level. It is nice to have very high level lantern followers, but I think I'm going to do the boring option. Can't believe I didn't do this already. Right, we're waiting for staleness, and we will let things carry on. So I do kind of hope that we get past the staleness here, just because it would be really nice to paint away the restlessness. But we'll see what happens. If we don't, then chances are I'm going to have to use the funds in a... I'm going to have to use the funds for the... or we aren't going to be able to have the funds for an expedition. I also forgot to turn in the hard investigation. Right, my recent work has gone unnoticed. Nothing is sold. Perhaps the work is its own reward. I hope so. Fortunately, the staleness is gone, so we're going to be able to do a reputation painting. So... almost lost all of our reputation. This one we may not be able to recover in time, we'll see. A rite which changes is necessarily a rite which destroys, but a great change requires the destruction of savage extent. Because I've been talking about some classical philosophy, I'm curious. I would assume that Heraclitus is probably 4G, but I can't remember if there's any specific Heraclitean references. The names of the Forge have all spoken these words. Okay, what do I do for study? Fire Circle Tantra. The one known extant copy of this in Western Europe was stolen from the British Library in 1892. One Harvey Hattington confessed to the crime and claimed to have eaten it with butter and garlic in a moment of ungovernable whimsy. the study door, the work begins. There's been quite a bit more activity about Book of Hours as well, and I know one of the things that is kind of considered to be, one of the really exciting features of this, and I think no less because it's obviously a subject of interest for the designers, are the expansion of the languages. And I think, I'll be honest with you, like, Cultist Simulator is probably dealing with language in a way that you really don't see any kind of comparison in terms of other games. But the depth that I think Book of Hours is going to hit is interesting. And I suppose there's always that question, right? Is more realism what we're necessarily looking for? Is, do you, just because someone's interested in it doesn't necessarily mean that an audience is going to be interested in it. But there is something kind of gamey about the way, like, I like to think of it in terms of, for me, I'm going to think a little bit more along the lines of some sort of econometric analysis or something like that. There is kind of a game element to doing those kinds of studies, right? Like, you don't just pick any estimator, right? For me, like, I'm going to have a problem, and sometimes it's going to be, where do I find the data? Or I have this data, but it's not ideal for the situation. How do I resolve some of those issues? And the circumstances I find myself in are going to determine certain outcomes. But in the end, there are going to be some best paths to take. And that's, kind of the quote-unquote gameplay of the project. And I think to a certain extent you can make similar claims in terms of the study of languages. And again, not even just a question of translation, although I think that on its own is very interesting because, of course, you can look at different translations of works. And it's not so much that the various... it is true that some translators do a better or worse job of translating a given work. But I think some of the discussions of translation are not just a question about, did so-and-so screw it up, right? So it's not like people who are translating, the Iliad after Alexander Pope are saying, oh yeah, here are the ways he messed it up. So, my version's better. I think a lot of people acknowledge that is a very influential and a very, remarkable translation of that work. But, there's advances in terms of scholarship. There are, changes in the language. People may see, some people will see things that maybe need to be highlighted, or aspects of the work that maybe require a little bit special treatment. And in the end, you're probably going to wind up making an infinite number of compromises to produce something that other people can actually read. So again, this, to me, at least, sounds like something that's very interesting for a game. If you think about some of the things that people have become very interested in, we're in the world now where, RimWorld and Industries of Titan and all of these simulation-style games are really enjoying a moment. There seems to be almost this insatiable demand for them. Of course, the big one coming out soon, in fact, I believe will be released as of the time this video goes live, Dwarf Fortress. One of the big reasons why I think that why there is this sort of resurgence of the sim. But in the end, this all comes back to SimCity, right? And even SimCity wound up having its influence on Civilization. And in the end, I think it's really fair to say that when you think of the question of translation or the study of languages, not necessarily the same thing, this is one of these examples where you actually have a subject which will allow you to really explore and go down a number of different paths, ones that will lead you to satisfactory conclusions, but not necessarily the same conclusions. Now, whether or not that's what happens inside a Book of Hours is a whole other question, right? We're not going to know unless they either release something ahead of time, or they, or we get to see it in 2023? I think it's summer 2023. I'll look it up another time. But it's an exciting prospect, right? And it's just one of these really great examples where there are these interesting subjects that are just lying out in plain sight, but nobody's ever really examined. So anyways, enough about language. I need some fascination in my life. I dreamt of the mantis behind the white door, of the great space above the orchard, the space that overlooks the bounds, the space where the vagabond once painted her river. Painted ships passed upon the painted river. I met the painted eyes of a painted captain. She saluted, and the motion was like the layered movement of clouds. The sail of the ship was amber, and the captain's eyes the green of new barley, and the river aquamarine. Now that I wake, I see those colors still. Light leaks through the cracks. My mind is brighter than it ever was. The higher I rise, the more I see. So, I do have a couple things that can protect me from this fascination. So first of all, we have the restlessness that will be generated from the Season of Ambitions. We have the restlessness that will be generated from Old Unhappy Far Off Things. We do have a Season of Visions coming up. It's also worth saying that we have another ceremony that we can do to eat up the fascination. And I think I'm going to do that before I do anything else. So let's go back to the stag door. We do have time to hand in a commission. Actually, we have time to hand in and receive a commission, so. He navigates, now you are the map. He illuminates, you are the darkness. He is not compassionate, you will not show compassion. Our compass is knowledge, and our course is glory. A dexterous disciple, loyal and clever with locks. So again, first things, not Dr. Redeem, Count Jannings. First things first, we turn in the Heart Commission, and I know a number of you are probably tired of hearing this. But we do that because we can get the cooldown started on Jannings sooner. As you were. So cooldown on Jannings is triggering earlier. We have 45 seconds minus 10, so 35 seconds still before we need to worry about the fascination. So we will get another another commission from Poppy. Following that, we will use the fascination in the ritual for the Heart Follower. Heart Follower. And we will also add some money to the Colors of the Night. Hopefully we get some kind of a return, because we're running out of money. Once a lady. The air is stale, and the dust sifts worryingly down from the rock above. But the dead lies still. This chamber, with its chalked figures and ancient stains, looks promising. In a lead-lined sarcophagus lies the skeleton of a woman. She wasn't buried here. It looks like she crawled in to die. Something has happened to the shape of her skull, pushing out her jaw like the muzzle of a beast. Scraps of rotting linen swathe her bones. Treasures lie among the remains of her clutching hands between her ribs. So, on Spintra, we've got Betty's blade. A cut from this blade will not cease bleeding until the wound is healed. One account has it that Betty was a knife-collecting surgeon highwayman in 18th century Toulouse. Another claims that Betty is only a bastardization of an Arabic word for mosquito. A cracked wildering mirror. A deep crack runs across the shimmering metal. A forge-aspected follower could repair it with sufficient resources, or I could use up what power remains. And we've got all of our followers and a notoriety to boot. So, I'm going to have to make some tough decisions as far as the Percussagant and the Callagine are concerned, and then I'm either going to need money or further expeditions. So, for starters, let's finish off with the Forbidden Epics. Those stories that have been forbidden are the ones most apt for us to read. William Gore. The Watchman's Light. My curiosity is becoming a physical need. My eyes will be thresholds. It is almost time to perform the work and begin the changes, but I must have enough lantern aspect. Exploration might find more. So there's the first restlessness we need to worry about. And there's the second restlessness we need to worry about. I received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. Okay, commission from Poppy. I am, Poppy says with a girlish giggle, curious about, oh, you know, the arts of blood and ice. It's silly, but allow an old woman her whims. Will you help me? Here's what she needs, a very substantial commission on Knock. So that's one we can't fulfill. But we are almost done with our books, so I suppose as good as time as any. Alright, so I was going... Actually, I've just made life quite difficult for myself. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get rid of all of the restlessness in time. But it is important for me to get rid of the fascination, so we will take our pawn, combine it with the unmerciful mantra. Fenian invocation. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. My recent work is considered notable. I've exhibited the latest paintings publicly. Surely someone will buy something. And we got some staleness for that. We only got our money, we only got our funds back. Disgraceful. Okay, I gotta wait on the passion. So, I'm really up against it. Let's try resummoning the percussigan then. Devil! Oh. The percussigan, merciless and merry. Heart will bring it, edge will constrain it. Next up, we want to figure out what we're going to do with the Callagine. Okay. 2 seasons of visions. I prepared the text for study. Herein, the great hooded princes are shown beseeching the wood to rise and devour an invading Timurid army. The Dapple King and Honey Tree and the Sea Twins all deny their request until they enlist the help of a burrowing secret keeper. The Painted River runs from a great chamber near the White Door, far through the Mansus, to its far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night, with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind, and all the while the captain and I discoursed on the secrets of the House of the Sun. So nothing to really get rid of with the dream slot yet, although we are worried about the survival of the Callagine and the restlessness. In this case, there's really nothing we can do to preserve the Callagine at this point, so I'm just going to have to summon another one when the time comes. But we will keep going through the Stag Door while we can. Oh, sorry, that's not entirely true. I can use the Callagine to explore, and I will do that just so I can get a little extra time with it. Oh! Clearly, I have not been paying close attention. It's the Forgotten Chronicles I want to be messing around with. Happy to have Tower Revok, it's just we're not going to work on that right away. Okay, so the Callagine's going to search the city. If I'm lucky, they'll just find Street Strange by moonlight. Actually, I might be unlucky if that happens. So we've got 3.6 seconds. We've got 2 minutes. Ooh. Yeah, the timings on this are wild. I think I'm going to send them out again just to keep things clear. He navigates, now you are the map. He illuminates, you are the darkness. He is not compassionate, you will not show compassion. Our compass is knowledge, and our course is glory. The lively disciple, loyal, and always ready with a song. So I could leave the talk verb open for the Callagine, but in this case, I'm going to get rid of the dread with another induction. So follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Okay, so I'd be tempted to buy the hireling, except that we don't have the money now. Excuse me. First the thump, the rattle and cry of the ceremonies it attends in the wood. Now here it is, shouldering its way through the world's skin, like a clawed and ruthless uncle, or a headless flapping bear. So we'll just let this percussagant expire, and we're going to paint away our staleness and our restlessness. Excuse me again. A mood piece. This should have an impact. Unbelievable. That's the second time that's happened. Armed with the blackmail material from the burrowing secret keeper, the great hooded princes petition the powers of the wood for a second time, and are successful. 1/4 of the timbered army is devoured by bees, 1/4 drowns themselves, and the other quarter disrobe themselves until nothing remains. So there's another Moldy Warp admonitions. Oh, sorry, not another. We already turned that into the Centipede Testament. So our last work, the Flayed Tantra, and again, some value in being able to upgrade our knock. So it's not a bad time for me to run out of books. But we will translate and read. This Tantra is recorded as being spoken by an enigmatic individual identified as Peel, with many of the qualities of the mythological Naga. The Flayed Tantra played a notable part in Alexander Sparrow's paranoid pamphleteering. This we might need for the Callagine summoning, so... Gearby was weeping again. I scooped up his molten tears in my cupped palm. In the dream, my skin peeled and blistered, but only in the dream. Think... Again, it would have been nice to go to the spider door at this point. And again, I'm not limited to hirelings for that, but we're gonna keep on with our adventures. Okay, this is the passion one, so we're leaving it be. Everybody wants something from us. So I pretty much have to make money at this point, so I think we're going to go straight into another painting. He navigates, now you are the map. He illuminates, you were the darkness. He is not compassionate, you will not show compassion. Our compass is knowledge, and our course is glory. An avid disciple, loyal, greedy. So I'm going to stall out a little bit on my on bringing people in, just so I can have the percussagant in a chat loop with the either with the Callagine or... Okay, good. We made some money off of that. So my recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. So as much as I would love to bring the Callagine back, I think in this case we're going to have them chat with the percussagant a little bit, and we're going to get a money painting done. Although I don't have restlessness anymore. The old and happy far off things is going to be something else. But that's fine. Let's bring Dorothy in. Now, as far as exploration is concerned, we'll also take the opportunity... What am I doing? We'll take the opportunity to use our Forgotten Chronicle to bring our last continental location. Little wars, great intrigues, cryptic priesthoods, mystic crimes. All past now, but what traces did they leave? Season of Suspicion coming up, so the notoriety is almost certainly going to sink me. We may be in a situation where we need to do some summoning, so... In sleep, I ran my fingers along the ridged edges of the stag door's scars. Our company it was that shattered it, Kirby said suddenly. Before the gods who were flesh, the mantis was forbidden to mortals. We were the first no. He begins again to weep his molten tears. I wish that we had not. I wish that I had died in the world. I've forgotten what else he said, but I remember the shape of the fissures in the stag door, and for all of today, doors will fear my touch. So, Flayed Tantra, and we have read that before. So, Peel was numbered among the great hooded princes, but it breaks with its brethren and followed. It breaks with its brethren and followed the Thunderskin in the endless dance. Okay, let's think about Dream. We do have restlessness. We're currently in a season of visions, so we're still okay to go back to the stag door. And let's take a chance on paying for paints. Alright, restlessness. So this, depending on what happens, we'll use in a painting or not. May even use it in a summoning. And no staleness, so we are going to throw that effort straight back into painting. Now, I am basically guaranteeing that well, not guaranteeing, but I'm making it very likely that the Suppression Bureau is going to find this notoriety. I'm okay with that. I need the money. Oops. So this will get rid of the restlessness. This does mean that the Percussagant and the Callagine are going to be chatting with each other for quite a bit. And I have a feeling that we're probably going to lose the Callagine just to the little bit of loss that we get through the talk. But I got to live with what I got, right? Okay, this place merits closer investigation. Chateau Reveline. Another forgotten chronicle. The wars, great intrigues, cryptic priesthoods, mystic crimes. All past now, but what traces did they leave? And once again, we spend money on paints. I'll take the subtle rupture again, just because it's nice to have the option with the summons in our current situation. In sleep, I ran my fingers along the ridged edges of the stag door scars. Our company it was that shattered it, Kirby says suddenly. Before the gods who were flesh, the mantis was forbidden to mortals. We were the first no. He begins again to weep his molten tears. I wish that we had not. I wish that I had died in the world. I've forgotten what else he said, but I remember the shape of the fissures in the stag door, and for all of today, doors will fear my touch. Once Peel had peeled itself, it had the ink it needed to write the Tantra. It had to face the wrath of its fellows. Here is the invocation it used to fend them off. So here we have the Geminate Invocation. The Sisterin Witch has always been invoked for protection, at crossroads and at moonrise, where the land shelters the sea. Alright, study-wise, we don't have anything else to work with, and it's going to be a little while because we're still short on money, but it is pretty clear that we want to advance our knock. So with the Igavine Rite, we need erudition or an HQ with a library. We do not yet have the HQ with a library, but we do have the erudition, and it's reasonably healthy. So let's get to work on that as soon as we can. There are incantations of unseeming, where the space between the worlds is as potent as the actual syllables. When a thing is opened, we will know its nature. I have my dream slot available, and I'm not doing anything with it. Shame on me. All right, my recent work has accrued modest fame. My paintings have reviewed well, and more moth, but more. We still don't have the staleness, so I might as well make money, right? And we've got a restlessness. We'll be earning another restlessness soon enough, but. Yeah, this is fine. Like, I'm not going to complain about getting the funds to where we had them at the start of the broadcast. I'm just going to wait on the talk verb before we wrap up for tonight. I think I'm going to bring... So the reason there is some value in talking about this, I think I've said this in a previous series, but I'm delighted that there's been enough interest to sustain multiple series, but it's also at the point where if I were to assume that people were familiar with like everything that I've done, that's a lot to ask people to watch that many videos. Though for those of you who've been there from the start, and there are still a couple of you, like I have for a couple times I've always thought, oh, you know, I wonder if so-and-so is still watching. But I never want to say it because, you know, people move on. I don't think I'm that entertaining to sustain that. But every once in a while, someone from the very start will comment, and I'll be like, "My God, like, what magic is possessed these people? We just need a few thousand more of it, and I could maybe start covering my internet costs or something." But in any case, the reason why I bring this up, there's a specific reasoning that I have in terms of where I put people in the order of the talk verb. So essentially, what I've got here, I put the percussicant in first. So the original thing I was thinking was put the Callagine in, and that way I sort of lock it in. But then I thought that probably wasn't that good of an idea. And essentially the idea here is that if I want to use the Callagine for something, such as a resummoning, I can pull that out of the talk verb and use it right away. Whereas if you put the Callagine in the bottom, like if you make them the thing that you talk to rather than the subject that's talked about, then you know that the Callagine is going to be locked away for 60 seconds. And so that closes the number of options that you may have. And if you wind up losing a fraction of a second each time you have to redo the talk verb, that's essentially a recipe to lose the Callagine at that point. There are very few times when your verbs become available at the same time. It is actually, I would argue, one of the factors that causes people to say, like, you know, I wanted to play this game for an hour and all of a sudden, you know, it's dawn. What on earth is happening? And it's because basically you have these timers and they're not synchronized. And so there's always going to be just another thing to do. It's the other thing that makes Civilization a one more turn game. The different activities that you're doing have different timelines. They're sort of staggered at different periods, or the conclusions are happen in different periods. So there's always something to do every turn, and so it's very difficult to sort of find that moment where it's like, now is the appropriate time to finish. Acknowledging, of course, the appropriate time to finish is when you need to get on with your day or when you need to get some sleep. But on that note, I am actually at a point where I probably need to be getting some sleep myself, and I have another episode to record. So I thank you all for watching, and should be back with one more episode this week. Until then, take care.